Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the story of how a nation was born. But this isn't just a history lesson. It's really the story of how a poet's dream, a student's fiery pamphlet, and a master politician's plan all came together to literally redraw the map of the world.
Picture this. It's 1947. The British Empire is leaving India, and in its wake, the subcontinent is split in two. The new nation of Pakistan is born. For some, it's a moment of incredible triumph, but it also kicks off one of the biggest, most chaotic and violent migrations in human history. Millions of people just scrambling to find safety in what was now their new country.
So you have to ask, right? How does something that massive even happen? Well, to really get the birth of Pakistan, you have to follow the journey of an idea. An idea that started as a philosophical dream, got a name from a radical student, and was finally hammered into reality by a determined leader.
And that's our story today. It's about three very different men. You've got the philosopher, who gave the whole movement its soul. You've got the visionary, who gave the nation its name. And finally, you have the architect, who had to actually build the thing. Their ideas didn't always line up, but together, they shaped the fate of millions.
Okay, let's get into it. Our story really kicks off with the man known as the spiritual father of Pakistan. He was a brilliant poet and philosopher, Allama Iqbal. So Iqbal's big idea, the one that laid the groundwork for everything, was the two-nation theory. He argued that Muslims and Hindus in India weren't just followers of different religions. No, he said they were fundamentally two separate nations. They had different histories, different cultures, different ways of life. For him, what made a nation was your faith and your culture, not just the piece of land you lived on.
And this right here, this is the moment it all got real. In a landmark speech back in 1930, he took that philosophical idea and put it on a map. He wasn't just talking in the abstract anymore, he was pointing to a specific place, a physical territory in northwest India. He basically gave the movement its why.
So, if Iqbal gave the idea its soul, our next guy gave it a name and turned the volume way up. Let's talk about Chaudhry Rehmat Ali, a student whose passion basically lit a fire under the whole movement. Now get this, while he was studying law at Cambridge, thousands of miles from India, Rehmat Ali drops this bombshell of a pamphlet, and the title says it all. Now or never, are we to live or perish forever? This thing was not subtle, and it completely changed the conversation. And this is where it gets really clever. He literally invented the name for this new nation. Pakistan wasn't just some word he made up. It was a perfectly crafted acronym. Each letter stood for one of the core Muslim homelands he imagined in the Northwest. It was brilliant because it gave the whole idea a concrete, memorable identity. But here's the thing. Rehmat Ali was playing a totally different game than the mainstream politicians in the Muslim League. They were cautious, pragmatic, trying to work within the system. He was an all-or-nothing kind of guy. He wanted complete separation, right now. To him, any kind of compromise was basically a betrayal of the dream.
And that uncompromising stance, well, it ultimately left him disillusioned, on the outside looking in. When Pakistan was finally created, through messy political deals and partitions, he felt it was just a shadow of what it should have been. This quote just perfectly captures how heartbroken he was.
All right, so that brings us to our third and final architect. The man whose job it was to take the philosophical dream and the radical idea and actually, build a country out of it. Let's talk about Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the man they called the Great Leader.
I mean, just look at this political journey. It's incredible. He starts his career being celebrated as the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. He was a unifier. So what happened? Over the years, he grew more and more convinced that Muslims wouldn't get a fair shake in a united India, which eventually led him to become the leading voice for a separate nation.
Jinnah just had this presence, this incredible charisma you couldn't ignore. There was a huge leadership vacuum in Muslim politics at the time, and he just stepped right in. He was a brilliant strategist, and he transformed the Muslim League from this small, elite group into a massive political movement with millions of loyal followers.
In 1940, that was the big turning point. At the Muslim League conference in Lahore, Jinnah oversees the passing of the Lahore Resolution. This is the moment. This is when the demand for a separate homeland for Muslims becomes the official #1 goal. The dream was now a political mission.
So, how did Iqbal's philosophy and Rehmat Ali's radical vision end up as Jinnah's final creation? Well, the short answer is compromise. Hard,
messy, political compromise that left nobody completely happy.
And honestly, nothing shows the gap between the dream and the reality better than this. On one side, you've got this grand, idealized vision of a huge, connected Muslim state. And on the other, you have the actual map of what was created in 1947, a country split into two pieces separated by 1,000 miles of India.
And man, this new country was born into an absolute storm. Forget a smooth start. From day one, it was just fighting to survive. It was facing crises from every direction: economic chaos, political instability, and a refugee crisis that was almost impossible to manage.
And yet, in the middle of all that chaos, Jinnah's first speech as the country's leader is, well, it's pretty stunning. Remember, this is a nation founded on the idea of a Muslim identity. And here he is, laying out a vision for a secular state, where your religion has nothing to do with your rights as a citizen. Everyone was equal.
And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? You have these three architects, the philosopher, the radical, and the pragmatist. Their dreams all got thrown into the pot to create one nation. So the question that Pakistan still grapples with today is this: how do you build a future that honors all those founding dreams, especially when they sometimes pull in completely different directions?